of lichens. Okay. By doing so, basically, then in that case, we're going to finish the lichen, and then we're going to move to the other part of symbiosis, association between the fungus and the plant. In this case, of course, we're going to talk about the Mycorrhizae, which is really very important, which I refer to it in more than one case as what you call the either endomycorrhizae or the ectomycorrhizae. So we're going to talk about this one here, because these are important to talk about. Okay, let's mention this. Okay, so basically, just give me a second here. All right, so just to make sure this here. So a title again is here going to be, as we mentioned, that fungi as a mutualistic symbiont in this case, we're going to talk about the mycorrhizae. Okay. To talk about this one here, but more general here, for example, first of all, we're going to talk about, as already I mentioned to you, fungi can be found in association. Okay. Fungi can be found, okay, in association with the roots of almost all kinds of plants, of almost all kinds of plants, although the roots, as already we mentioned, are infected, of course, by fungi, but of course it doesn't do any harm for them. The fungus cause little or no damage little or no damage to the roots. Okay. And of course, that association already, you know about it, that between the fungus and the root, that is basically what we call it as the mycorrhizae. To mention this point here. Now, the fungus root combination the fungus, this is you here, the fungus root combination, is termed mycorrhizae. Okay. As already I mentioned to you before, that mycorrhizae, there are two kinds. Of course, you have the ectomycorrhizae or the endomycorrhizae. Okay, just give me a second here to see. Okay. Though this is a section like this, I will explain to you that basically this shows to you here the ectomycorrhizae. Basically, this is of course what it shows to you here is a cross section of the root, okay? And basically, of course, the ectomycorrhizae they will build more or less on the outside of the root, okay, like this. I could mention to you here. While when we talk about the endomycorrhizae later on, basically they move what's called inside, basically inside the cortex of the root, which we call in this case, we call them the endomycorrhizae, or we call them, I'm going to show that vesicular, avesicular. Okay, going to mention all that. Just talk about. So basically, at the moment, we're going to talk first about basically, as already we know about this association. Basically, we have two octomycorrhizae and endomycorrhizae. Okay. Going to first, okay. If you want to put this down here, but different type, just for your information, that different types of mycorrhizae occur. Okay. And this include okay, what we call ectomycorrhizae, okay, known as ectomycorrhizae. Just I think you finish from this one here. Okay, okay, ectomycorrhizae, and of course, and endomycorrhizae. Now we're going to talk first, as a matter of fact, about the ectomycorrhizae. Okay, we talk about the ectomycorrhizae. Okay, talk about their character and basically what kind of fungus and how they infect and all that, basically, and what is also their importance. Okay, so simply to mention in this regard that the ectomycorrhizae consists of a dense sheath of fungus. Okay. The ectomycorrhizae so this is another R here. Okay. Mycorrhizae consist, okay, of a dense, okay, of a dense sheath of fungal cells, okay, of fungal cells, as a matter of fact, surrounding the root. Okay. Now that sheath, as a matter of fact, should it could be to a thickness about 100 micrometers, something like that. Okay. To mention this point here, the external sheath okay, maybe more than, as I mentioned to you, about 100 micrometers. Okay, thick. Okay, and also as I showed you this one here, sometimes it could be more than one layer, okay? Something like that. To mention this point here, thick, okay? And maybe divided into more than one tissue layer. And to mention this point here, and maybe divided, okay? And maybe divided more than, okay? Into more than one tissue layer. Okay? And usually, as a matter of fact, the fungus, of course, try to penetrate between the cells of the epidermis of the root. To mention this point for you here. Now, the fungus often penetrate okay, penetrate between, okay, the cells of the epidermis. Okay, between the cells of the epidermis, all right? And it could reach even sometime to the edge of the cortex, to mention this point here, between the cell of the epidermis, okay? And the first few cells and the first a few cells, okay, of the cortical region. Okay, of the cortical region, to mention this point here, okay? And by this, of course, forming a network of hyphae, to mention this point here, okay? Forming, okay, an intercellular, I'm going to mention like this, enter, and put dash here, intercellular hyphal network. Hyphal network, okay? But as I mentioned, but does not penetrate the cell themselves, but does not penetrate, okay, the cells themselves. Because otherwise, if penetrate the cells, that means going, okay, penetrate the cells themselves, okay. Now, usually that sheath, which is surrounding the, what you call, the root of the fungus, of course, the characteristic of that is determined by the fungus itself. And to mention this point here, characteristic of the sheath, mention here, characteristic, okay, of the sheath, which is around this, okay, seem to be determined okay, by the fungus, okay, rather than by the plant. Okay, rather than by the plant, okay. And usually that morphological variation, as a matter of fact, is going to help us sometimes determine what kind of fungus, and especially what you call the color of the sheet. Sometimes it could be dark brown, sometimes it could be black, or even, okay, or yellow brown. All that it depends on the type of the fungus. To mention this point here now, morphological variation, put this point here, that morphological variation, and of course I mean the morphological variation here, morphological variation of the sheath of the fungus. Morphological variations, okay, are used, okay, as an aid or help, okay, to in identifying the fungal partners. Okay, now, as I mentioned, one of the most conspicuous or obvious thing is the color of that sheet. And to mention this point here now, one of the most conspicuous or obvious conspicuous, okay, differences, okay, is the color. Is the color. Okay. As I mentioned to you, now some fungi will form as a matter of fact jet black mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae, while others okay maybe yellow to brown. Maybe yellow to brown, okay, or as I mentioned to you, or some other colors also sometimes, okay, or some other colors. Okay. Now, to put some a little bit more characteristic about this one here, and sometime we're going to, I'm just going to give you an example. Now, sometimes some of the tree, basically, it is very important. It is obligatory for them to have the fungus. Some other are basically facultatively. And that's what happened here. Basically, if you come in the succession, usually these three which are facultative with the mycorrhizae, they come first, and later on, after the fungus being established, then what you call the other tree can able to grow or to proceed. And to mention to you here. Now, ectomycorrhizae, in general, going to mention to you here. Now, mycorrhizae, as I mentioned to you here, okay, are typical of forest tree, are typical of forest trees of temperate regions, are typical of forest, okay, trees of the temperate region. Okay. The other point to mention here, now, usually, as a matter of fact, this association between the fungus and the root, this association between the fungus, okay, and the root is established, okay, actively, okay, on secondary, on growing secondary roots, actively, okay, on growing, okay, secondary uh, roots, okay. As you can see here, for example, and that's what's very important when they grow like this, okay, root. And of course, what happened here, by their height, it can reach very distances, sometimes many kilometers, as a matter of fact. Not only this, and that's why they can able to absorb quite a bit of nutrients, especially phosphorus, or especially in the soil with low nutrient plant. And also what happened here, sometimes if there are many trees, so you find these mycorrhizae that can connect between the root of these trees, and they will help, for example, transferring even nutrient from one tree to another, and so on. So basically, they play a very important role in that sense. Okay, just to mention a few points here. Okay, as I mentioned, actively growing on secondary roots. Okay, and as I mentioned too, that to mention this point here, now some forest tree, some forest trees, as I mentioned to you here, are obligate, like they must have this fungus, are obligate, okay, are obligate ectomycorrhizal former, they are obligate ectomycorrhizal formers. They form that. Formers, and will fail to grow, and basically these trees, they will fail to grow and fail to grow and will fail to grow, as I mentioned to you here, okay, in the absence of the mycorrhizal fungi. Fail to grow in the absence, okay, of mycorrhizal fungi. Okay, you follow that? And now I'm going to give you some example of these trees in which basically they need, as a matter of fact, the fungus. Okay. All right, to mention this point here. Now, example, for example, this include, for example, put it down here. Okay, include species, for example, okay, include these mycorrhizae, include, for example, like pine, oak, beech, okay, and spruce. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, other trees, as a matter of fact, they are facultative, and basically they can grow either way. Now, other trees are facultative ectomycorrhizal. To mention this point, other trees, sorry, this is other trees are facultative okay, ectomycorrhizal. Put down here ecto mycorrhizal. Okay. Basically, these they can grow. Now to mention, for example, the facultative ectomycorrhizal species, facultative ectomycorrhizal tree species, okay, such as maple, okay, juniper, okay, willow, and elm, okay, and elm trees, okay. Now, usually, if you have, for example, as I mentioned, if you have a wasteland, usually you find that the first seed to germinate or to come is those of the trees of what you call of the facultative. Okay, and after the mycorrhizal fungi being established, they need to follow the growth, see the succession, then they will follow all those tree in which basically they are obligated to mention this point here. Now, when moving into a wasteland, just to give you an example here, when moving, okay, into a wasteland, okay, of course, as I mentioned, the facultative, okay, the facultative ectomycorrhizal, okay, a plant species, okay, can survive and grow, okay. And what happened here, of course, when these three are there, then the mycorrhizal fungi will come and infect them. And that basically, they will establish the presence of the mycorrhizal fungi and to make and grow, okay, mentioned here, and also and establish okay, the mycorrhizal fungi, the mycorrhizal fungi flora, of course, in the soil. Okay, now then the obligate, okay, ectomycorrhizal species may eventually become established. Before that, I think you finish with this one here. I put it back here. Okay, let me see now. Now, the other point we're going to talk about that, of course, there are different type of species which form the ectomycorrhizae, and different type of species will form what you call the endomycorrhizae. Now we're going to talk about what are the species mostly involved in doing what you call of the ectomycorrhizal fungi to mention. The fungi, okay, that form the ectomycorrhizal are most of the time these are member really of the basidiomycetes, okay, are usually okay members of the basidiomycetes. And especially, remember when we talk about the basidiomycete, the gastromycete, or the whole gastromycete, these are the first we call, right? Basidiomycete, okay? Especially, okay, the members of the aggregators, of course, these are the mushroom, number one. Okay, the members of Agricales. Remember that from Agricaria I mentioned about the mushroom, okay, Agricales, and also the Hymenogastramycete and Gastrales, the Hymenogastales, and also some member of the Ascomycetes, and also and some members, okay, of Ascomycetes, especially this group of Euryschalis, which is the Euryschalis, remember, that's order which include like Penicillium and Aspergillus, and also one of which include of the Pisaza, the other one, to mention to you, Ascomycetes, and they put between two bracket the Euryschalis, this order which include, you remember, the Penicillium, and also and Pisazalis, which include the Pisaza, which is the the cup fungi or the apothecia, and Pisazalis. Okay. The other point, of course, basically, what happened here, that these, especially the ectomycorrhizal fungi, sometimes not easy to grow it because these fungi very dependent on the host, and most of the time to grow them by culture without the host always it's not easy, or sometimes it doesn't bring any result. Mentioned to you. Okay. Just mention this point here. Now, attempts to show how much they are dependent in reality on the host, these fungi. Attempt to culture, okay, to culture the fungus, okay, partner, the fungus partner, okay, of Ectomycorrhizae, okay, are uh, sometime futile, okay. And the difficulty, of course, because it's very difficult to tell what is exactly the relationship of what nutrient exactly the fungus require and vice versa. And to mention to you that this difficulty okay, implies, okay, the existence, okay, of, we call it, of the intricate, okay, the nutritional, sorry, the nutritional relationship, okay, within the host, okay. Now, usually going to mention this point here, that in the beginning, when the seed comes, the seed in the beginning germinate, and a little bit after germination, then the ectomycorrhizae can basically infect the what you call the root. Now, the plant seed germinate, to give you the process how it works. The plant seed germinate, okay, and give rise basically to an infected infected a plant, okay, and as I mentioned, and the ectomycorrhizae okay, are established some week later. Okay. And usually only these active secondary root are the one basically, as I mentioned before, we're going to mention it here again. These are basically the one are infected with the mycorrhizae. To mention only actively growing secondary roots are invaded. Okay. Are you following this okay? Okay. And now basically, I know about, I think about 10 minutes earlier now, I'm going to stop my lecture at the moment because I think you have to do what you call course evaluation, please. And because you can get that from the D2L. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I give you this 10 minutes to do what you call your evaluation. Now, for your exams, in spite of your large number, I finished it. But as I mentioned to you, because it's still, so you may have it basically early next week, okay? It will be sent to you by email, okay? Well, anyway, if you have any question, let me know. And I hope you follow the lecture okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. I think I have to close from here.